Hi everyone, welcome to A String of the Past. My name is Michelle. This is episode 3 of my part knitting podcast, part floss tube. Today is going to be a little bit heavier on the cross stitch content. If you've been watching all along, thank you so much for coming back, and if you're just discovering me, then welcome. Today I'm filming from a different location than I filmed my first couple of videos from. I have a super rare window of opportunity to film a podcast during the day on a weekday in my living room in natural light because I am on spring break, but my older daughter still has school today. My younger daughter is napping and my husband is at work. I keep starting this over because I just don't know what is wrong with me. My perfectionism is causing me to just want to restart and restart. But that window of opportunity is closing because my daughter is going to wake up soon. So I need to just roll with it and maybe just edit things out if they don't go as planned. I always want to show a string of the past on a string of the past. And because it is right outside my daughter's room and she's sleeping right now, I'm not going to do video there, but I'm going to insert a picture. This was made by my husband's grandma. And I have no idea when she made it. I really don't know much of the story behind it. I believe from my pretty limited knowledge of needlecrafts that it might be needlepoint. It's not cross stitch, the stitches aren't crossed. And it looks like it was done with like a fairly thick strand of yarn, but it is this beautiful arrangement of poppies, I guess, and I just think it's beautiful. We had it reframed a number of years ago when we put it in our house, and I do not get tired of looking at it. It's in our hallway upstairs, and so I see it multiple times a day, and I really, really love having it. It's such a neat thing to have something from someone that you're related to, somebody who was an important part of my husband's life and our family's life. So I've been filming a monthly episode, I guess, and this is my recap of March. March was what I would definitely describe as March Madness, and not in the fun stitching way, not in the fun basketball way, just in the way that life was a little bit crazy in March. I had mentioned in my last episode that I was just going into report card season, and that meant that about the first half of March just had a lot of added stress and a lot of added work, and yeah, just spending a lot of moments catching up on marking and just trying to think about each of my students accurately, and it just takes a lot of brain power and a lot of energy. So I did do a lot of days where I did a little bit of crafting, but sometimes what I wrote down in my planner, which I have here with me, I've been just kind of jotting down what I accomplished each day really quickly. And at the very beginning of the month, there's quite a lot of days that just say like February socks I worked on for like 4 rows. And yes, that is correct. February socks I was still working on in March. So let's just jump in to the knitting content right away. If you watched last episode, you'll know that I am kind of trying to participate in the Rainbow Sock Chronicles that is hosted by So Sweet Violet and Lay Family Yarns. And this is still my February pair, which the color for that is red. Last episode I had this sock done, and at the time I had just like the teeniest bit of ribbing done on the second sock. This is my March progress. I didn't get a whole sock done, even though I'm supposed to get a whole pair of socks done, but again, March was pretty crazy. Yeah, so I'm on the gusset. I have maybe a couple of solid dedicated days left to just finish up the gusset, finish the foot and the toe, and then I'll have this pair, but that means I am a whole month behind, and I have my March ones coming up. So we'll see. I'm on spring break right now. I think I just mentioned that, and I'm really, really lucky to have 2 weeks off for spring break. So this week has been just a lot of trying to get organized and caught up from the craziness that was March, and I'm hoping that next week will be some excellent progress. We are doing a quick little family getaway to the mountains for a couple of days, so that means a car ride, that means some evenings where we're just relaxing in our hotel, and the kids will hopefully be asleep because they'll be so busy during the day. So I'm hoping to get a little bit of crafting done while we're gone. And it's also my birthday month, so I think that, you know, a great birthday gift would be the gift of time to get some crafting done. Just a hint to anybody who might be out there watching this. So my plan for this year is to start all the things, and March was just like an epic fail at starting anything, but that's okay because I made progress on other stuff, and progress is the key. So it's okay that I didn't start anything else. Last time you probably saw that my Weekender sweater by Andrea Mowry had some ribbing done. I think I was on like the second chunk of ribbing. I can't remember if it was the front or the back that you then attach together and start knitting the round. And I got, you know, a fair amount done on this for having worked on it maybe only 1 or 2 days at the beginning of the month. We got to go on a school ski trip, so I went with my class and one other class, and we had a nice little bus ride to get there. So that means that I had a couple of hours to work on this, and it was a nice mindless, you know, mostly just knitting around and around. So not bad. I am almost done the first kind of skein here. I think I have 5 skeins to use, and I know that based on the pattern and the size that I'm making, that's cutting it a little bit close. So I may have to disassemble my gauge swatch that I made. I may need to just make it 3/4 sleeve, but I've had this yarn in my stash for a long time, and so far it is knitting up really nicely, and I'm excited to wear this color of sweater. I think it'll be great. So yeah, little progress on that. Progress is good. Next, let me untangle my yarn and everything over here. I also worked on my January, can't even remember if I officially started it in January or not, shawl, which is the What the Fade by Andrea Mowry. I got really excited the day that I was going to work on it in March, and I just like went and posted a photo like this on my Instagram, and then I went back to the pattern, which I hadn't seen in a while, and remembered, oh yeah, this is the right side with the pink. So I don't know what I was thinking. I was like much too hasty to try to post a photo of it, but really like how it's knitting up so far. It's going to be so bright and fun, and it's going to be humongous. Just looking at this tiny little part that is only a small bit of the first brioche section. There's like 6 skeins of yarn that are used in this, and I think they get used pretty fully, so it's going to be a nice, like, not just shawl, but maybe more like a blanket. So pretty excited about that. That is all that I did knitting wise in all of March. It was not a very knitting heavy month again, because it was just so busy, and once report cards were done, I think I did a lot of that in the first part of the month, and then once report cards were done, I was really eager to stitch again. Maybe it's kind of spring is here, and I don't know, I have just felt a little bit more like stitching. So in April, I hope that I do get a little bit more knitting done. I didn't buy too much to do with knitting, just one sock pattern, which is going to be my March pair of socks that I'll start after these ones are done, and that was called Dreamweaver Socks by Campos. So they're kind of, maybe I'll put a picture in here, but they have kind of a nice like zigzag cable pattern on it, so they're a little bit different from the first 2 pairs that I've made. Yeah, so that is pretty much it for knitting. Pretty short update this month. On to stitching. I have been keeping up with the projects that I've started this year. So the first one, that was my New Year's Day start. Was so excited to jump into my first big full coverage project, and it's going to take me a zillion years, but really excitingly, just last night I worked on it a little bit more, and I made it to the 3rd column of this page here, just one little row of it, but so far I've gone down a column, up a column, now I'm ready to come down again. So really like how this is going. I really like how it looks from actually a little bit further back. It is so fun, but so tedious. It is very confetti heavy. I'll talk a little bit later about some of my purchases for this month, but I have had a couple of other full coverage patterns to compare to this one, and I'm realizing they're not all like this. Some of them have like really nice big sections of all the same color. So far this one does not look like that, and it doesn't really look like it's gonna get like that anytime soon. This is a golden kite pattern. It's called Malcesine, I think that's how you pronounce it, on Lake Garda. So it's this little Italian town, and it's got all these old buildings, and it's from quite an old painting, but I've looked on Google at what that town looks like, and it actually still looks a lot like that today. So one day I'm gonna have to go and visit there because I'm spending a good chunk of my life cross-stitching it, so I'd probably like to see it in real life as well. So I worked on that 6 different days in March, and so not bad for some progress on there. The other thing that I worked on that I need to go get, oh my goodness. Whew, okay, I had to tiptoe very quietly past my sleeping daughter's room and hope that she wouldn't wake up because I need a little bit more time. This is the Modern Folk Embroidery 2021 stitch along called The Fruits of Plenty. I am still very much on the January block, but I worked on it 4 different days this month. So I believe I only had stuff in the border done last time I showed this, and I got these little motifs done here and just the start of some of the berries that are in the bowl here. So I'm doing it on, like I said, 40 count weeks dye works in Dove, and I'm using 310 black, and then the white color is, I don't remember, it's probably in here. That would be a really helpful thing. The white color is 3866, so kind of an off-white. I feel like mine looks very different than a lot of the ones that I've seen on Instagram. I'm just using 1 strand, which is my first project ever to use 1 strand on, and so I do really like it, but I do think it looks quite different than the other ones that are out there, and that's okay. I kind of like that it's sort of unique. Yeah, so I would be excited to keep working on it. This was the thing that I was working on the day that report cards are due at my school. We spend some time after school editing them, and so I had a prep towards the end of the day, and of course everything was caught up because it was report card time. So this is what I brought to work on during that time while I was waiting for report card editing time. And yeah, I got to stitch with my friend from school who was also starting to get into embroidery and cross stitch. And in fact, this evening it's going to be really nice out, and we are allowed to have small outdoor gatherings, and so she's going to come over tonight and we are going to stitch on the deck for a little bit. So I'm very excited for that, and I don't know what project I'm going to work on. Maybe I'll decide after seeing them all here as I go through them. So that was Modern Folk Embroidery, Fruits of Plenty. Last time I showed a little bit of also another stitch along that I am working on. This is the Peppermint Purple Blackwork Sal, and it is free. I apologize for all the wrinkles and the hoop marks in here. I had done just some of the border last time, and I was really eager to get into the actual block. So each one of those blocks is released each week. These are weeks 1 and 2. There's some longer kind of rectangular ones. Some of them, as I've done a little bit more of the borders, are just these small little squares. So when I work on things, I tend to kind of plan it out in my head in a very optimistic way. Like, I'm gonna keep working on this project and nothing else, and it's gonna be my project going forward. And in my mind, I feel like the words come into play all the time. All I have to do is, so as I was working on this, I was thinking like, all I have to do is each day fill in 1 more box, and then maybe I could do one of the gray threads and one of the black threads. And then of course I only worked on it like 4 or 5 times this month, and you know, all I have to do is still a lot, but it does feel like I made some fun progress seeing some of those colors come to life a little bit. I also, very excitingly, the much anticipated Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery Coley Cafe stitch along came out this month, and so I worked on that just 3 days because it came out on the 25th, so it hasn't been out for very long, and I got a little tiny bit done on it. I got the title and a little bit of the words. There's some back stitching that goes in here because it says raspberry mocha is the first of the 10 beverages that's on here, and just a little bit of the whipping cream in this raspberry mocha. So really fun. This might be what I have to work on tonight because I think it's going to be something I can stitch and talk at the same time. Some bigger blocks of color, not as many colors to pick from, kind of leaning towards this one. So that is that. There was also one day that I thought I should make a little bit of progress on my last year's Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery stitch along, which was the Animal Almanac, and I only did one day on it, and all I did was, in block number 9 here, I filled in some of the red at the top of this barn, and I did some of these are apples, I think, in a basket, and I still had enough red that I just did a few more. So not very many stitches. I think maybe I filled in a tiny bit of the basket as well. It was probably only 100 and some stitches, but again, progress is progress. So if I do that a few more times this year, I'm hoping that maybe this will be done before the end of 2021. It'd be nice to finish a couple of things instead of just starting everything. And that is it. That is all that I worked on this month, which really is actually not terrible for a month that was really, really busy. I'm sure I've had worse months of crafting before. I am doing a lot of planning though. I would really like to participate in Stitch Mania this year, which I've never done before and is apparently going to be kind of the last one because the Stitch Mania Facebook group is going to come to an end fairly soon. So this is kind of the last hurrah for that. I am pretty new to cross stitch and definitely new to the whole community of cross stitch, and just learning all of these different groups and things that are going on. So I don't feel like super invested like I've been along for the ride for a really long time, but it would be really fun to participate kind of this one last time and be able to use a bunch of new starts for all the kind of fun things that happen. I think I mentioned a couple of videos ago that I'm just so drawn to this idea in the cross stitch world of like planning stuff out and scheduling things and participating in all these little games. There's like Whip Go, where you make a bingo board and then you cross off different projects as they come up throughout the year and set different goals and different projects. There's just all these different groups with like all these ways to kind of make it into a game, which I think is so fun. But because I don't have that many projects on the go yet, I feel like I need a few more so that I can just really jump into them in a really fun way. So I'm doing a lot of planning. I have a pretty epic spreadsheet going on for all the things I want to cross stitch and all the things that I want to start knitting. So it's got all of the materials that I need with little check boxes, and so every month I have my crafting budget, so I'm trying to kind of figure out ways to maximize that. April is also my birthday month, so I'm hoping that maybe there will be a little crafting supply bonus coming to me for my birthday present. But yeah, this month I mostly bought patterns because as I'm kind of trying to plan things out and work my way through, that's kind of the first column that I want to fill in, is like all the patterns that I need for Stitch Mania. So I took advantage of the sale that Artecy is having, which I think goes to the end of April. They have a lot of full coverage patterns, and I tend to be really drawn to a lot of the patterns that they have. They have really nice landscape kind of ones. Just, yeah, lots of really nice artwork that they use. So I bought 3 of them. 2 of them are by the artist Leonid Afremov, and I noticed that Shiloh from X Stitch MD is working on one of his patterns, and so I feel like they're kind of quite popular right now. One of them is called City by the Lake, I think. Another one of them is called Night Colors. And then the third one, I don't remember who the artist is. I should put pictures of them in here. The third one is called Broadway, and I feel like I'm almost like, oh, that's kind of a weird choice, but also not a weird choice because I love the colors in it. I love New York. I love Broadway and I love musicals, so it actually makes complete sense. But it's just maybe in some ways not the kind of pattern that I would be drawn to, but I feel like people who know me quite well would say, yeah, of course you bought that pattern. So I think that's gonna be really fun. I, again, need to like try to source all of the materials to do these things, and I'm realizing that because I'm not going to get super far on some of them this year, instead of waiting till I have every single floss that I need for especially some of these really big full coverage ones, I think that I'm going to just pick a couple of key colors that I'm going to need in the beginning, just get a few skeins of floss, and then worry about kitting it up fully later on. I think that's kind of the plan that I've discovered. I've been trying to add as many patterns as I can to Pattern Keeper. I think I also mentioned in my first video that I bought this little Amazon Fire tablet when it was Prime Day a while ago, specifically for Pattern Keeper, and it's been worth every penny. Not every pattern works with it, but there's quite a few that do, and I don't think I'm giving away anything. You won't be able to tell anything. Mostly this is just cover pages of different patterns, but I'm getting quite a few in there that I can pick from. I bought a couple of patterns on Etsy last night, a few from just totally different places. One is Peppermint Purple, so like the Blackwork stitch along that I'm working on. It is some birds, it's called Just Birds, and I really love the free stitch along, so I thought I should really do a little bit more of that and support the designer because that's so kind to make a free stitch along pattern. So I bought that one. I bought a really nice sampler from Stitches Through the Years, and it's called, I think it's called Like a Cherry Blossom. I'll try and put in all these pictures, but lots to be really, really excited about. I bought a couple of Carolyn Manning patterns earlier in the month. One is the Flower a Day stitch along. I think it's from several years ago, but the idea is that you just kind of stitch like a little flower motif or two every day, and then probably it was supposed to be done in a year, but you know, we'll see how that goes for me. And I bought another one of hers that looks kind of like a quilt. It's called Desert Dawn, so it's got kind of pinks and greens and really nice colors in it that I really like, and I think that will be a really fun one as well because it's in these little tiny blocks of color, so you could probably just, you know, add a few blocks every time that you work on it. Looks really fun. I went and bought a bunch of floss from Michael's, and yeah, that's about it. This is gonna be super short. I don't have a whole lot of things to say today, and that's probably for the best. I think my daughter will probably be waking up pretty soon. But again, thank you so much if you have been watching and enjoying. I feel so weird about like the whole like self-promotion thing about having a YouTube channel. It's like kind of awkward for me. Yeah, I feel super weird about just putting myself out there and getting people to like and subscribe. But if you feel like it, please like and please subscribe. I know that a lot of people that have been watching so far are, I think, just people who already follow me on Instagram or who I know in real life. And it's not that I want to be famous in the world of crafting and cross stitch per se, but it would be really nice to connect with people who are interested in the same things. So if you know anybody who you think might enjoy watching this, feel free to pass that along. Otherwise, have a wonderful day, have a wonderful month of April, happy Easter, and I will see you with an update at the end of it.